What's up, everyone? I'm DJ Hamilton, and you're tuned into the DJ Sports Show, where we give you the latest, greatest, and most exciting sports stories in the world of sports. From interviews to having people's stories heard and told. This is the DJ Sports Show. Let's get it! Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, DJ Hamilton, DJ Sports Show. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button and share anybody you know who loves sports. And if you're listening to audio platforms I'm on, whether it's Spotify or Apple, leave a follow, 5-star rating, and share anybody you know. We're going to talk some hockey today, guys. I got some guests for you guys today. I got Emma Miller, who's a former NHL researcher and a site expert for NHL, for Fansided with us today. And I got co-site expert of the Pittsburgh Penguins, Tyler Miller, here with us today. How you guys doing, man?
Doing great. Ready to talk some puck today.
Oh, yeah,
man.
me too.
And this is your guys' first podcast, you told me. I'm like, you guys never been on a podcast before?
Yeah.
No.
Yep, first time.
Are you nervous or?
A little bit.
Just be yourselves. Just, give good information. Just be yourselves. That's all it is. So, guys, so we
Awesome.
got the Stanley Cup happening between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers, a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup.
Yep.
And this is going to be taking place Wednesday. This is going to be first in Edmonton. And this is the first rematch since Detroit Red Wings against your Pittsburgh Penguins, Tyler. Back in 08-09. We haven't had a rematch since 15, 16 years.
Oh,
Tyler's like, yeah. Feeling good about it?
I remember where I was for each series too, so.
Oh, wow. No, that's great. So we have the Panthers, who are making their third straight Cup appearance. They became the fourth team other than the Islanders from 80-84. Tampa Bay Lightning earlier this decade from 2020 to 22. And the Oilers back in 83-85 since the 16-team playoff era began in 1980 to make 3 straight Cup finals. And the Oilers are looking to become the first team to win, the first Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup since 1993 when the Montreal Canadiens won. So as you guys who love hockey and cover it for a lot, what are you guys looking most forward to in this Stanley Cup?
I'll jump in here, I guess. I am really I think this is going to be one of the most exciting finals we've seen in a long time. Last year, we saw a ton of action. Oilers almost made a crazy comeback from being down 3-0. They forced a Game 7. I think we're really going to see a very neck-and-neck matchup. I think there's a lot of talent on both sides of these rosters. Connor McDavid, I mean, love him or hate him, jealous of him, you want him on your team, whatever you might think about him. He's phenomenal. He's, the player of our generation, and he has the chance to do something really cool, which is, as we were talking about back-to-back matchups, Sidney Crosby won his first Stanley Cup back in 2009 off of a back-to-back matchup. He lost in 2008, won in 2009. Wayne Gretzky actually did the same thing back in 1984. They lost the finals in 83 against the Islanders. Oilers won in 84. So that would be a really cool accomplishment, I feel, if he followed those footsteps.
Now, as a Penguins fan, I'll step in and say I don't want McDavid to get it. I'm not really somebody that's against McDavid, but I'm just somebody that's like, I don't want him to follow in the trajectory of Crosby of, he lost his first cup, and the next year he won his first. I mean, McDavid is a hell of a player. I mean, Crosby, McDavid, you name it. It's not really a debate right now. But it's the fact that, if he wins, I've seen a lot of people lately on Twitter say, if he wins his first one, is he going to be in that conversation where Crosby is? And I'm like, McDavid's only going to have 1 cup. Crosby has 3. So it's kind of just a sort of different debate.
Yeah. No, that's similar to like basketball. You have your greats who have multiple rings, and then people who have just 1 ring. Like there's levels to this. There's levels to greatness. Like Michael Jordan has 6, LeBron has 4, Kobe has 5, and then there's people who have 1 ring or 2 rings, like Hakeem Olajuwon, or even what's his name has 1 ring. I forgot who. There's another player that has 1 ring, like Oscar Robertson or Jerry West. Those guys are great. But there are levels, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has 6 rings. Like those guys are in the upper tier of greatness and having multiple titles. They have multiple MVPs, LeBron, Jordan, Kareem. And that's why they're on like the Mount Rushmore conversation of greats. McDavid, I know if he wins 1 Stanley Cup, I know everybody's like, he's the most amazing thing. Yes, he's the best player in hockey. Even casuals like me who don't know hockey as well as you guys, But we know how great Connor McDavid is because we see it all the time on SportsCenter, the highlights. Man, that highlight he had the other day against the Dallas Stars, that big goal where he gets the puck on a deke out and he's going forward and he's accelerating, he changes gears like one gear and then into the next, and he does it at such an explosive speed. It's like, whoa, how did he just do that? That's special. Like you can't teach that. And he had a defender on him
Yeah.
too, so he wasn't like he was just really nilly-willy. He had a defender right on him, pressuring him, and then he just scores that big goal. Because at that point, the Oilers, they scored 3 goals within like a span of like 5-6 minutes. I was like, this offensive. This was a team that was only like 10th in offense, 11th in scoring this past season, and the Panthers were number 15 in scoring this past season. And most of it is due to Drasaitl and McDavid. We're going to get into them a little bit because they're the best duo in hockey, I believe. I don't know if you guys disagree, but I feel like those two are the best, like scoring-wise, talented-wise, offensively, those two are the best duo in hockey. But yeah, having a guy like McDavid on your side, and then they were on a 3-0. The Dallas Stars started making a comeback. They were starting in a frenetic pace. They scored their 2 goals, putting pressure on the Oilers. And then McDavid say, you know what? Oh, no, we're not going to let them come back and give them a chance of life. I'm going to take over this game, show why I'm in the league. And I'm going to take over this game and hit that big goal. And that eventually, that kind of relieved a lot of pressure off the Oilers to, okay, our guy, he's confident. Oh, that's going to rub off on the rest of the team. He doesn't feel the pressure. They've been through enough battle wounds, battle tested and stuff like that, the growing pains. When they lost last year in the Stanley Cup, remember, they were down 3-0. I saw them come all the way back. I'm like, oh, they're going to do it? Because that reminded me of the Boston Celtics in 2023 against the Miami Heat in these conference finals. They were down 0-3. They won 3 straight games. They got to a game 7, but Jason Tatum got hurt in that last game with his ankle, so he wasn't the same. He was moving gingerly and then ended up losing. That kind of happened the same way for the Oilers, but except nobody got injured. But this Oilers team this year, they had more physicality. Evander Kane, this is a guy who, man, he was kind of getting blackballed out of the NHL. Like, he was on the San Jose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The San Jose Sharks, they kind of threw him to the side. And this is a guy who had a hernia he had to get surgery on earlier in the fall of last year. And he had surgery on his knee. And he has been I know he's not a star, but he's been a key component for the Oilers and bringing that toughness, that mentality, and a veteran presence in the locker room. And I feel like he's helped rubbed off on the Oilers. It's not just about the star players, but role players. That comes for any team sport. And I feel like this Oilers team, I feel like they're going to, I know it's going to be tough, though. The Panthers are no joke. They're the reigning defending champions, but it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. I think the Oilers I think you bring up a great point about the depth of the Oilers. I think that's one of their, of course they got McDavid and Draisaitl. They got these crazy great players leading the way. They first and second in the NHL in points right now. I mean, it goes without saying, obviously they're carrying the team somewhat, but they have a very deep roster that I feel like doesn't necessarily get enough recognition because people are so distracted by, McDavid and Draisaitl doing McDavid and Draisaitl things. But it's like, there's a lot of respect that I feel like they deserve lower in the lineup. Now, something I think is going to be kind of an X factor, you bring up physicality as well, and the Oilers do tend to be a pretty physical team, but they are going to be struggling without Zach Hyman. Hyman actually leads the NHL right now in hits, and he's donezo, so I think losing that is going to be, it's going to make a big difference against a Panthers team that's really strong at playing the body, really strong in those board battles, in front of the crease. Like they are a tough team. So I think losing someone like Hyman is going to make a difference in the end.
Yeah.
It also has to do with the fact that when you talk about Florida, you're talking about Sam Bennett, you're talking about Matthew Tkachuk, you're talking about a Brad Marchand. Marchand was known in Boston for being that person that can really get under somebody's skin, and he's been able to do that in terms of when they played Carolina, in terms of when they played Tampa Bay, in terms of when they played, help me out here, second round, not finals, Toronto, sorry. Whenever they play Toronto, Marchand is a Toronto killer, and it really speaks to the volumes where Florida is. Like, knowing Boston, they were gonna go into a rebuild, and they knew that Marchand wasn't going to be a difference maker in terms of a rebuild, knowing his age. But in terms of the Oilers and the Panthers, again, you have to have physicality. You have to have those people that know how to get under anybody's skin, know how to get to the front of the net, know how to put the puck in the net. So it could go either way.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, I want to see the Oilers win. This reminds me, like I said, we spoke about it in the Slack chat. I talked about the other day. Like, this is a team similar to, like, we'll put it back for basketball reference. 2013, the San Antonio Spurs. They had a 3-2 series lead going into Game 6, and they lose that Game 6 in heartbreaking fashion. Bosch gets that rebound. He passes out to Ray Allen, who backs up. I don't know how he didn't go out of bounds, but that's that shooter's touch, that feel, that constant repetition in the gym when no one's watching. He hits that big tray, and that changes the whole psyche of the series. And they were bringing out the trophy because they thought the San Antonio Spurs were about to win the game. The trophy was coming all the way to the podium. They were bringing it out. And Ray Allen said, not on our watch. This was I was like, that was one of the greatest basketball games I ever watched. And then seeing Ray Allen hit that shot, the crowd going, that was one of the greatest moments in NBA history, arguably the greatest clutch shot in NBA history. To see him hit that shot, the Heat end up winning the series in Game 7, winning the title. And then the Spurs, I know they used that hurt, that anguish of last year, the way they lost to, the pain, and when they just had it in the palm of their hands. And then they come out the next season, 2013-14, and they run rush shot on the league. They demolished the league. The post, that was one of the best ball movement teams, probably the best ball movement team I've ever seen. That Spurs team was moving the ball. The ball didn't stick. They had great shooters. You had the greatest power forward of all time, Tim Duncan. You had Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Kawhi Leonard, young Kawhi Leonard at that, who was a stealth defender, locking down LeBron, Dwayne Wade. And then seeing them, how they came back with a vengeance and pretty much dominated the Heat, beat them in 5 games that year. I know that anguish and defeat from last year spearheaded what happened the next season. So I'm kind of looking for the Oilers to do the same thing. Yes, you guys were down 0-3 last year, but you won 3 straight games and you almost had it. Like, you guys almost had it. You lost by 1 point in Game 7 last year. 1 point. You almost had it. So I feel like they're going to use that experience and the pain they had from last year and how they felt in that Game 7 loss to spearhead and eventually dominate and eventually win the championship this year. I want to see McDavid, how great as he is, win a Stanley Cup. I don't want to see him go his whole career without winning a Stanley Cup.
Honestly, I'm with you there. I am. And Tyler, I know you're a Crosby guy, so I totally understand the, how you feel towards McDavid. But listen, I think he's one of the best leaders in the game. He leads by example. He's a force to be reckoned with. And I know that video of him last year went viral all over the internet. The camera in the locker room after one of their losses, he's screaming at his teammates. He's freaking out, losing his mind. And that, seeing that, not only I feel like I gained a little bit of respect for him because I'm like, wow, he loves this game, man. He loves this team. I really felt for him in that moment because, God, he was putting the team on his back during those games. And seeing the passion and seeing how angry he was, I was like, man, this guy loves this sport. This guy, he is he's one of the most iconic players of today. I know you might say the same about Crosby, but I view him more as being the last generation of greats, and McDavid's kind of in the younger, newer generation. And, I would really love to see him raise the cup. But again, I know that's kind of maybe an unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people on Twitter are like, can both teams lose this? So
That's funny.
It also speaks to the volumes that after last year's final, McDavid won the Conn Smythe trophy even though they lost. That really speaks to what they look for in terms of the MVP. Also, last night, I know you're a basketball person, in terms of when they gave the MVP of the Eastern Finals to Siakam instead of Halliburton. But it speaks to the volumes of, you can still give it to McDavid even though they lost. And they're like, you can give it to him again even if they lose again. And I'm like, I don't know if it speaks to that. I don't know if it would go that far. But it also is a fact that I feel like the series is going to come down to goaltending. Bobrovsky is just insane when you get to the playoffs. The Edmonton's gone back to Stuart Skinner, which he's either you have a shutout or you have a bad game.
Yeah.
Obviously didn't speak to Game 5, which he still allowed 3 goals, but they still won. But you don't know what you're going to get with Skinner. You'd have to hope that he's on his A game, which mostly at home he is. On the road, it's a different story. But it's going to come down to goaltending. Who's going to make the bigger save? Who's going to make the bigger shining moment? Bobrovsky or Skinner?
Yeah. And to answer that question, I think there's little discussion here. It's going to be Bobrovsky that's going to come out on top in that conversation. And I know we're talking about MVP. I feel like that's the perfect segue because something I wanted to ask you guys about is at this point entering this series, who do you think are going to be the main names in the MVP conversation? And for the Panthers, I think it's unquestionably Bobrovsky. I mean, he has 3 shutouts this playoffs. Now, granted, Stuart Skinner also has 3 shutouts, but Bobrovsky has been so solid. I mean, he's making waves. He has a crazy good save percentage, 912. He has a goals against average that's barely over 2. I mean, he's making a really solid run. And that's not to knock Stuart Skinner at all because he's put up a great performance, but it's really interesting the life cycle that Skinner has had because the first 2 games against the Los Angeles Kings, he let up 11 goals in those 2 games. So his backup comes in, Cal Picard comes in, and plays, X amount of games, gets injured. Now it's like, oh, we have to go back to Skinner. Like, how is this going to work? And he surprised everyone by playing really well. So no knocks on Skinner. He's putting up a great performance. He has 3 shutouts in the last 8 games, 931 save percentage. Like, he's playing unreal, but I feel like Bobrovsky has that extra edge. He has the winning mentality. Like, it goes to Bobrovsky. And in my mind, Sergei is the front runner for the Conn Smythe on the Panthers squad right now.
Ooh, that's a big prediction. Okay.
Yeah,
so you think
yeah.
ahead of Barkov? You think ahead of Barkov? You think Bobrovsky will get it over him? Barkov is that dude.
It's hard
man.
to say. Oh, absolutely, he is. It's funny because Barkov was my other choice, my other shout out for who could potentially get the Conn Smythe. I think it really depends how the series goes. I think it could go to either one of them right now. Barkov is scoring at a point per game player, but not only that, he makes such an impact on both sides of the puck. He is such a, he's a Selke finalist this year. That speaks to his strong defensive gameplay. He's very reliable in every situation. So he's a big part up front of the team's success, no doubt. So I think it kind of just depends who's going to make a splash in this finals. I think both of them are wonderful choices regardless. So
exactly. And one thing
I think it also would come down to. Sorry, my bad.
No, go Tyler. What were you saying?
I think it's going to also come down to the power play. You saw that Dallas had all this firepower on their power play in terms of Rupe Hintz, Mikko Rantanen, Thomas Harley, Miro Heiskanen, Mikhail Granlund. They couldn't get anything going in the last few games in the power play. They went, 0 for 5 on the power play, 0 for 6 in Game 5, and they only lost by 2. Score some power play goals, there's a difference there. Edmonton capitalized a couple times. Edmonton has the firepower of McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, and whoever else. Florida has the same thing, so you're just gonna have to really simmer down on the penalty kill. The power play is a big one in this one as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And one thing I saw is what's it called? You're seeing the best postseason scoring team, the Oilers, who are averaging over 4 goals per game, which is honestly insane, especially in the postseason. Postseason, it's a different level of intensity, different stakes, and then you're getting against the team with the least fewest goals against in the Panthers. So it's going to be a battle of, these teams are going to kind of cancel each other out. That's how great. That's why when I was watching Bobrovsky last year, I'm like, man, this guy is like a lock on a chamber, like a safe when you're trying to get in, like you can't get into. Like we have all your safety in there. If you find any way, like you got to be a locksmith. You got to be a tactical technician expert to be able to score on this guy. You got to be like a McDavid, Draisaitl type of score on this guy. It's rare to score on this guy. That's how great you got to be to score. You got to be a technician at your craft to score against this guy.
Yep.
And they're number 1 goals against per game in the postseason. And the Oilers are not far behind. They're number 4. I know Stuart Skinner, he's 6-4 in the postseason right now. He is kind of inconsistent, like Tyler mentioned earlier, on and off. I think he'll get better as time goes on. But I know McDavid's going to try to probably have a pep talk with him because he's going to try to rile up his guys, I feel like, because now they've been through the battle. They lost last year. I know they're not trying to have that feeling again back-to-back years. I know Connor McDavid, I know he'd rather not get a Conn Smythe trophy again on the losing end again. Because he was the 6th player last year in NHL history to ever win the Conn Smythe on the losing end of the spectrum. Which is kind of different from basketball. Because how you guys have 6 guys? Basketball, there's only been 1 Finals MVP to win Finals MVP and lose. And that's Jerry West. Jerry West? Yeah.
No kidding.
Jerry West. Yeah, when he lost to the Celtics and Bill Russell. He won Finals MVP one season. I forgot which exact year.
That's really interesting.
But yeah, every other Finals MVP, because Finals MVP started in 1969 in basketball, the year Bill Russell retired. He's the ultimate champion in basketball, 11 titles, one of the all-time greats. And ever since then, they've had Finals MVP since. Yeah, every other Finals MVP besides Jerry West, I forgot which exact year, but every Finals MVP has been on the winning side of the team. That's what difference is in hockey. Like that's why I find kind of interesting and kind of because I'm like, wait, you could be on the losing team and still win the.
I know. It takes a lot, though. I mean, since 1989, only 2 players have won it on the losing side. It was McDavid last year, and back in 2003, the goalie J.S. Jaguar won the Conn Smythe on the losing side. And not to derail this conversation or anything, but New Jersey Devils Stanley Cup champions that year. Martin Brodeur deserved the Conn Smythe, and they gave it to J.S. Jaguar. Now, this guy, he played out of his mind, but Brodeur was, God, I mean, that is such a silly, I still can't believe that happened. Anyways, all that's to say, last 35 years, only 2 guys have done it too. So it's definitely a rarity in the NHL too, and it speaks a lot to that 2003 year. They wouldn't have been where they were without this goaltender, J.S. Jaguar. So it speaks to, the impact that a player has on their team, So interesting fact you bring up about the NBA and NHL and that.
So Jerry West won in 1969, not Bill Russell. Bill Russell was ultimate champion, but they named him. So Jerry West won in 1969. Yeah, I almost forgot that. So let me correct that. Jerry West won it, but he was the first Finals MVP, and he's the only one to ever lose the Finals and win it. So yeah, that's and he lost against Bill Russell Celtics that year, which is funny. So yeah, that's interesting.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And one thing I liked about this series too, like Draisaitl, we know he's like the second best player. He's in the conversation for finalists for MVP. And remember, he signed the largest annual value contract in NHL history last year, 8 years, under $12 million. Like that richest contract in NHL history. It's like, okay, you better show up. And this year he's done that. He's done just that. Absolutely. He led the league in scoring this season, and he missed some games, but he still led the league in scoring. He had 11 game-winning goals. Like, this guy has been tremendous. I feel like, McDavid, he's just a transcendent talent. But Draisaitl, I feel like he's like the Jordan. He's like the Pippen to his Jordan. Like 1 and 2, 1, 2, 1, 8, or like the Kobe, or to like Shaq in his prime. It's like that's how dominant McDavid is, and then he's right there. He's like just as good. He's just as important, just as impactful. And I feel like he's someone. Yeah, McDavid might be the favorite to win, but I feel like Draisaitl might be the the underdog in terms of Conn Smythe Trophy winner for the Oilers. I feel like he's someone who probably can win it. Yeah, I think we shouldn't sleep on him as well. I think we shouldn't sleep on him.
And every time you see McDavid out of a game, like in terms of injury or something, Drasaitl always the one that takes over. Always the one that knows where to be, knows where to go, knows how to drive the net, knows how to feed his teammates. He's always just been that person that is the pick-me-up. He's always been, obviously, the number 2 under McDavid. Obviously, McDavid's number 1. But Drasaitl the one you can look to for help, the one you can look to for the perfect pass, the open one-timers, and presence in front of the net. He's always just been that guy.
And then what's it called? So the Oilers looking to win their first title since 1990, and they're 6th in franchise history. So they haven't won in a long time. It's been over 3 decades. It's been a long time. It's been a minute. And I know Canada was where hockey was invented. It used to dominate, but it's been since 1993. The Canadian team has won. It's like, I know they're looking to regain their control. Like, okay, no, we control hockey again. Right, we're the place where hockey was invented. So I know they want to do that. And then the Panthers, and they won their first Stanley Cup last year in franchise. They're looking to win back-to-back. And if they do that, I know not a lot of teams have ever done that in NHL history. So I think that would be something interesting. So
not since they started expanding the league. Back in the original 6 days, I mean, the Montreal Canadiens won a jillion Stanley Cups in a row and stuff. But as the league continues to expand, we've seen a handful of back-to-backs. We haven't seen a three-peat in quite some time. So, it's just interesting. I know the Lightning went back-to-back recently. Tyler's Penguins went back-to-back a couple years back. So But correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but those two instances were the first times of back-to-back since the Red Wings in the 90s, if I remember correctly. So it's like, it's few and far between. It says a lot to be able to make the finals 3 years in a row. The finals 3 years in a row, potentially winning 2 in a row. I mean, especially for a team like Florida that is a younger team, all things considered, in the NHL. They have less history than some of these other teams, So it's really interesting. It's a big accomplishment. I think it says a lot to, the general manager is up for GM of the year. It says a lot to the way that they were able to build this team, and it's also pretty cool that the NHL has expanded down to Florida, and they're actually doing really good. And obviously Tampa beat them to it and has been really good for a while, but I think that really says a lot. So I think on the one hand, it's cool. Florida had their moment last year. Oh, we brought the Stanley Cup to Florida again. But like, is it Canada's time? It's been a minute. So
yeah,
I am gonna have to sign off here in a second. But with that, honestly, I think it's gonna be Florida's again. Give me Florida in 7. I'm not really saying that out of bias. I'm just saying Florida, I feel like, is the more physical team. I feel like they have the goalie that can really make that big save. Bobrovsky has proved it time and time and time again. Stuart Skinner's not a slouch, but give me Bobrovsky, give me Florida in 7.
What about you,
I
Emma?
like it.
What about you, Emma?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hard for me to say. Like I said, I feel like it could go either way. I would love to see this series go to 7 games. And, I feel like could go either way, man. It's hard to say. I would love to see McDavid, win the cup for the first time. I would also love to see, I love the way the Panthers team is structured and, everything they bring to the table, top to bottom. They're a very strong team. Lots of great storylines there. So it would be nice to see them win again too. I think in my heart, I might be leaning Oilers a little bit. So
Oilers now in what, 6 or?
Ah, man, I would like to say 7 as well. I think the Panthers won't make it easy if the Oilers do win. So
Okay, I'm gonna go Oilers I'm gonna go 6. Oilers in 6. I feel
all
like,
right, I like it.
yeah, it might go 7, but I'm gonna go 6. I think McDavid and them, Drasaitl, Nugent Hopkins, I think they all learned their lesson from last year. Nugent Hopkins also a sleeper. This guy is a very impactful player. He has been incredible for them on both ends of the rink. I almost said court.
Wrong sport.
Yeah, I almost said court, thinking tennis or basketball. But he's another player. I feel like he's like that third option on that team behind Drasaitl and David. I feel like they're going to need him to really be impactful on both ends of the ring to really to win the Stanley Cup like they want to. So I think he's going to be I feel like he's the X factor. I know Drasaitl and McDavid are going to do their thing. I feel like Nugent Hopkins is going to be the X factor, and I need Evander Kane to be that enforcer that he's been. Be physical, get into their heads a little bit. Be physical with Barkov. Be physical with Sam Reinhart. Get into them, kind of get them off their game, and get them rattled a little bit. Get them barking at the refs, getting technicals, penalties, and then you want to capitalize on the shorthanded goals when you can, man. That's what you want to do. So but yeah,
absolutely.
I got
and
Oilers in 6. What are you gonna
just
say?
like a final thought here, I think I'm really excited to see the physicality of this series, but I think there might be it might go a little over the top at times with, I think, if we're going to have a conversation about the Florida Panthers, we have to bring up how they have been at the center of some controversy during this playoffs for some various, just dirty hits. I mean, Aaron Ekblad in particular has had multiple, he's already been suspended once. He's had multiple other controversies, just in this last series against the Hurricanes, he sucker punches someone from behind after a goal has already been scored. Now, do you want to call it a sucker punch? No, the guy wasn't injured, but his back was turned, punches into the back of the head. No reason. Puck is in the net. Like, buddy, lay off. And we saw the Oilers in the middle of something like this too, with Darnell Nurse fractured Roope Hintz's foot during this last series, and everyone was like, oh, Hintz was embellishing, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, he left the arena in a walking boot. His foot was fractured. Like, what do you mean? It was not a hockey play. It was just, you have to slash someone really hard, especially on the top of the foot like that. You got to slash someone hard to break a bone. So all things considered, I'm really excited to see the physicality of these two teams, but I feel like it could very easily teeter into some dangerous territory. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Hockey, I feel like is hockey or football the most physical team sport. I feel like it's between those two.
Yeah.
Some people say football, some
Yeah.
say hockey. The rules have changed a lot over the decades because back in the 90s,
Yep.
80s, and even the 2000s or 70s, even before, like it was physical. Basketball too back in the day used to be physical. Like people used to punch, grab, everything, just throw you to the. It was crazy back in the day. Like I don't know if you ever watched the Bad Boys Pistons, what they did to Michael Jordan back in the day.
No.
Man, they used to beat that guy up in the air, slam it. Oh man, it was crazy back in the day. They changed the rules in like all across sports just to make the game safer for people so they don't like get so like crazy injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is good. But some people like to see physicality, see more resistance. So we kind of see, okay, great offenses go against great defenses who are able to be a little bit physical and have some resistance so we can see competitive matchups. And that's what people pay to see. You want to see that whether we're in person or watching on television. So yeah.
Absolutely. It brings so much excitement to the game. But like you said, a lot of the rule changes have been with player safety in mind. So, I love to see him drop the gloves. I love to see a good fight. I love big hits. A little piece of hockey history for you, New Jersey Devils history. One of our best players of all time, Scott Stevens. If you ever watch a highlight reel of his or anything, your mind would be blown because the hits that he was laying out on people back in the day, suspension every single time today. And this is only, 25 years ago. I can name so many instances of it. So it's crazy to see how the game has changed, but it's also nice to know they're trying at least a little bit to protect the players. So I love the physicality, but let's not at the cost of people's health and safety,
Exactly. We don't want nobody walking out with crutches and stuff like that.
No.
Like, we want physicality, but let's be real. People, these are men who also have families and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right?
They're humans too. They're humans too. So that's why I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we go, you say you want to mention a few things that you had outside of the preview?
Yeah, sure. I'm super down to bounce some things off of you. Kind of depends. I had two little,
You'll probably carry it.
I'm fine with that. I'll yap all day. You're talking to the right person if you want to yap. So, I think the more interesting thing here we could talk about is the future of some NHL coaches right now, because the losing teams in both of the conference finals, the Dallas Stars and the Carolina Hurricanes, some drama around both of those coaches. And I just thought it would be interesting to maybe bring that up, discuss a little bit. So I don't know how much you followed the saga with Pete DeBoer and his goalie, but there was a lot of drama about that this week where in the elimination game against the Oilers, Dallas Stars head coach Pete DeBoer decided to pull his starting goalie, Jake Ottinger, after 7 minutes into the game. Now, Ottinger had allowed 2 goals on 2 shots. He had only faced 2 shots, didn't stop either one of them. So DeBoer, in his mind, is like, let's shake it up. Let's get the other goalie in. Whatever. We need to switch up. But this has proved to be a very controversial decision on DeBoer's part because, number one, neither of those goals were really Ottinger's fault. They were definitely both team goals. It was not the goalie's fault alone. It would be one thing if it was a fluke or a weird bounce or whatever, but no, it was 100% his skater's fault that these pucks went into the net, not necessarily the goalie's fault. So on the one hand, you feel a little bad for the guy. He's doing the best without Jake Ottinger, this team does not get to where they are today. He is a fantastic goalie. He's young. He's right in the middle of his prime. They are building their franchise with him in mind because he is that good. And this coach wants to come in here and be like, oh, you had somewhat of a bad game. My team hung you out to dry. So get out. It's your fault. Just a show of disrespect, if you ask me. So people are there are a lot of conversations right now if this coach Pete DeBoer is going to be on the way out or not. And I don't know which way it's going to go.
That's interesting. It kind of reminds me of when I was watching March Madness this year. St. John's had an incredible season, won the Big East title the first time in God knows how long. Rick Pitino, shout out to him. RJ Lewis Jr. was the Big East Player of the Year, and I forgot who they lost to Arkansas. I forgot which exact round, but they lost to them in the March Madness. And RJ Lewis was having a terrible game. Like, he was shooting poorly, his shot wasn't falling. And St. John's was a team, they can get downhill, but they were not great at shooting the 3-pointer. So whenever teams played against them, it's like, okay, we're going to play them for the drive. We're not going to go out there's nobody who's a threat from the outside, which kind of makes it hard for spacing. And he was like 6 for like 19. I forgot what his exact. It was bad. And then the coach benched him like the final 4 or 5 minutes, and this is the best player in the conference, and best player on the team. Benched him in the final minutes of the game, caused a lot of controversy. A lot of people in the media were asking Rick Pitino, why did he bench RJ Lewis, your best player, who's the Big East Player of the Year, all that. And everything was looking up when they won the Big East crown, and he was the Big East Player of the Year. And then just like that, quickly, a week or a week and a half, 2 later, it all just went. And then now RJ Lewis ended up transferring, but he's actually going to stay in the NBA draft now. So he's not back. Yeah, so it goes to show, like, you could really hurt a player's, like, confidence. Because remember, these are humans. Like, they might be pro athletes. They're really confident because you got to be confident to get here. But you can really hurt a player's confidence by taking them out the game, especially if they're a regular who's always in the game and they're a starter or a star player, and you take them out. That could take a big shot at their confidence. And then when you try to put them back in, they might not play to the optimal level. So that was, when you said that, I was like, that kind of reminded me of that instance right there. I'm like, oh, wow. Like,
that's the perfect comparison, man.
Yeah.
Perfect comparison. I mean, it's really crazy. So at the end of the day, it's like, is it easier to replace this goalie and let him go to a team that's going to appreciate him more? Or is it easier to replace the coach? And the answer is way easier to replace a coach. There are plenty of great coaches on the market. And you know what I found really interesting about this, and this can be my final thought on this, is that the Stars players were super on Ottinger's side on this one. The coach came out after the game and had said something like, this guy keeps losing against the Oilers. There's a pretty big sample size. I was just trying to switch up my team, like pretty much just blaming the goalie. And when they asked his teammates after the game, how did you feel Ottinger played? They were all like, our play was unacceptable. We put him in a position to fail. Like, that is our fault. That is not his fault. Like, he's the reason we're here today. So I think that right there speaks to these players are losing faith in this coach. They don't agree with the coach's decision. It might be time for him to go, which sucks because I don't know what it's like in the NBA. So maybe you can speak to this, but in the NHL, I find there's not very much loyalty with coaches. Like, you bring them in, I would say most coaches last like 2-3 seasons, Pete DeBoer has been fantastic. He's brought them to the conference finals more than once. And he made a really stupid decision. And if it comes down to him or the goalie, I'd choose Ottinger all day. But that shouldn't take away from the fact that Pete DeBoer is a wonderful coach. And it kind of sucks that, like, he's going to be going to yet another team. This is like his 4th team in the last 10 years that he's coaching, And so it's a little unfortunate. I have to feel a little bit bad for them because they work hard as well. So.
Yeah, when you said NBA is similar because players have the empowerment. It's been that player empowerment era, honestly, since LeBron made the decision in 2010. I remember where I was. I was like 9, turning 10 that summer. And I said, Mom, we got to go. LeBron's going to make his decision on ESPN. We got to go. And that from there, and we've seen it throughout the last 15 years. And then you said coaches last like 2-3 seasons. It is kind of true in the NBA too. Unless you're lucky enough to be a great coach where you're helping your team win, and you're kind of safe when you win a title. But that wasn't the case with Denver Nuggets former head coach Mike Malone, who got fired earlier this season because the Nuggets weren't playing up to their level. And he got fired along with their former GM Calvin Booth from Josh Kroenke, who's the president of the Denver Nuggets. And he just won a title 2 years ago with the Denver Nuggets. And the team they got worse ever since after they won that title in 2023, just 2 years ago. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA. I don't know if you know him, but he is considered the best player in the NBA. He's a monster. Right? That dude is incredible. And I don't know if maybe some people are saying, "Oh, would Jokic have a say?" Because him and Mike Malone had a good relationship, and people were like, "Mike Malone." They would have to ask Jokic if it would be okay to fire Mike Malone. There were rumors swirling around did Jokic say okay? Because Jokic's kind of a nonchalant, reserved guy. He's usually like he's from Serbia, so he's like kind of like whatever, yeah, whatever. Whatever. He doesn't really care. He's like, I just come here to play basketball, and he's really good at it. So, yeah. So Mike Malone getting fired was kind of a shock. It's like, whoa, this guy is one of the best coaches. I know he's kind of stubborn, he can be a little hard and rough around the edges, kind of an old school type coach, but he was on his players trying to get the best out of them. And he was kind of mad how some guys, they didn't really take their job seriously. Like they weren't watching the film like they should and knowing what other teams' weaknesses are of players and stuff like that. He's an old school type of guy. And yeah, when he got fired, I kind of showed a shell shock to the players in the locker room, and then it kind of left a psyche. And this was like right before the postseason. It was like a week or two like before the postseason was about to start. Like it was right before the postseason. And then they ended up losing to the Thunder in the second round in 7 games. So yeah, the NBA is rough business too, man. But coaches, if you're lucky, last 2-3 seasons or 4 seasons, sometimes they're one and done. It depends how bad the season goes. And yes, like Mike Budenholzer, I remember he got a stint with the Suns 1 season, and I think they let him go, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just it could be very toxic, could be very dysfunctional. Because remember, at the end of the day, these entities, they are a business. They are a business. They are billion-dollar machines, like billion-dollar companies. They're trying to win championships. So that's why you gotta. I know we have fans who are like, man, why would you do that? Why would you get? Or like when Luka Doncic got traded to the Dallas Mavericks, I'm like, what the hell? That was. I'm sure people even outside the NBA, they were like, what the hell is this? Like, this guy,
I heard that, and I was like, wait, isn't he like one of the best players in this entire league? Like, what is that?
He's the best players in the entire association, and he's only entering his prime. He's only 20. Like he's not even in his prime yet. And Nico Harrison traded him. I'm like, that's crazy. And Dirk Nowitzki even said he's better than me. He was going to be the greatest player in history. He was on pace to be the greatest player in the franchise history, and they traded him. And somehow they got the first pick. Somehow they got the first pick in the NBA draft. I don't know how. It's just that's why people think the NBA has a lot of conspiracy theories and because like LeBron even said it too. He's like, why would they have Cleveland, Ohio win the lottery? And I'm from Cleveland. Why didn't the Grizzlies win it? Or he's like, or Derrick Rose in 08 to Chicago, or AD in 2012 when they didn't have an owner, the New Orleans Hornets at the time, but now they're the Pelicans. It was owned by the NBA until finally got an owner. Why would they give them the owner? Or even is the 2019 the odds changed with Zion? The odds changed, or when Cleveland in 2011, when LeBron first year after leaving, he's on Miami, and then Cleveland somehow gets the first pick because they're terrible. They were garbage. Give them Kyrie Irving 2011 just to give them a franchise cornerstone to build around. So or even I can't forget 1985 Patrick Ewing with the Knicks. He gets to go to the New York Knicks. Everybody calls it the frozen envelope. Yeah, there's been NBA, man. It's been very it's the same way. Coaches kind of get the short leash end of the stick because at the end of the day, it's the players who are the ones who are out there producing on the rink, the court, or the field, and who are getting you the results, winning you the titles. So it's the same thing in the NBA. So that's something that's very interesting to hear about.
Yeah. And just one final little anecdote about this. The same coach that I'm talking about right now, Pete DeBoer, 13 years ago was the New Jersey Devils head coach, actually. And he took the Devils, who were a team that year that was like squeaking into the playoffs. They were not a fantastic team by any means. I believe they finished 6th in the Eastern Conference and, kind of just made it pretty close. And he took them all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals against Los Angeles Kings team that, broke records that year. They were a phenomenal playoff powerhouse, the Kings were. And Pete DeBoer did something really wonderful with the Devils team that year. Nobody expected them. Nobody picked them to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. So, he was really, what he did with the team that year was really great to see. And what's unfortunate is the lifespan of an NHL coach these days, because the very next season, there was only half a season because of the lockout that year. So we started play in like January of 2013 instead of October. But during that offseason, there were some big changes to the Devils team. Namely, their captain left in free agency, who was like a huge part of the team. Obviously, he's the captain. He was one of their leading point scorers, like great player. And, the team just was not as good as it was the previous year. Whatever magic they found in 2012 was not there in 2013 anymore. And whose fault is it? Pete DeBoer's, right? So he gets the chopping block not too long after. And it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's less his fault and more the fault of like the people actually putting the team on the ice. You know, the Devils didn't really make very smart free agent signings back then or smart trades or anything back in the 2013-14 era. So it's like that was the beginning of a long period of mediocrity for that team. And it's just unfortunate looking back. You know, DeBoer had such a great run in 2012. It's unfortunate that he was one of the first guys to take the blame. So I do feel bad for the coaches in a way, but you bring up a good point. It is a business at the end of the day. So it is up to the players. You know, the players matter way more than who's behind the bench. So it makes sense, but I got to feel bad for guys like DeBoer who catch a lot of heat even when they're really overperforming expectations, you know?
Exactly, definitely. I remember the coaches are their families to feed too, so it's like, damn, it's a cold world. Corporate world is cold, man. It's cold.
It really is, man. It's brutal out there.
And before we get off, I wanted to mention Kris Knoblauch. I think that's how I say his name correctly. For Edmonton Oilers head coach. I want to give him credit because, man, he came in for Jay Woodcroft, got fired. He came in November 2023 around that time. And since he's came, they've made back-to-back Stanley Cups. Like, we got to give the coach, like, he has been incredible for them. I hope he comes out with the Stanley Cup this time. I'm rooting for Edmonton Oilers, rooting for McDavid. Come to a team and instantly change the culture, everything, and you make deep playoff all the way to the finals. We got to give him kudos, man. And
absolutely, well deserved.
Yeah, I think he's someone, especially if they win this, he's someone who's going to stay there for a long term with McDavid and Drasaitl. So I just want to give him his kudos, man. He deserves it. He really
absolutely,
does.
Yep, he deserves it. And you know, back when he was hired, they got off to a very slow start to the season. They bring in this new guy. All of a sudden, they're tearing up the entire NHL. It's like he made a real quick impact on that team. So, very much deserves a round of applause for what he's done. Yeah, of course, he has a lot of talent to work with, but it's, you know, he's done a great job. So,
hey, you're a coach. You got to figure out to make that talent mesh and what's it called? Strategize for makes them play to their strengths. You got to find ways to maximize their strengths and limit their weaknesses. It's not, you got to be strategic in being a coach. So coaching ain't easy. You got to find where your players' strengths weaknesses are and limit their weaknesses and maximize their strengths so you can have the best version of your team possible. So you got to set up your players to succeed as a coach. So the great ones are able to do it in any sport and bring out the best of their players. So Emma, before we go, tell people where they can find your work.
Yeah, so check out puckpros.com. It's a fan-sided website. I'm publishing there all the time, usually daily content over there. All things NHL news. I have an article about this Pete DeBoer drama the other day. I have an article about some back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals. So lots of content, big mixed bag NHL news if that's what you're interested in. You can follow me on Twitter. My handle is going to be emillssports. So check me out. Give me a follow. Check out the site. And thank you very much for having me on, man. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I enjoyed this too. I know Tyler had to get off because, father duties. So in case you guys are wondering. Father duties. I know you guys heard that baby in the background. So, I had to get off a little early, but I do appreciate you and Tyler coming on. It was great talking some hockey. I haven't talked hockey in a long time. Probably a lot. I've been doing lately, over this last year, I've done hockey last year, like articles, but I haven't done I've been doing mostly football, basketball, college sports lately.
Yeah.
I've been doing mostly that. So, this was great to talk some hockey, refreshing, having people who know hockey well, and I can just bounce off them. This was great, man. And, hey,
super
Emma,
fun.
It was great to bring you on to your first ever podcast. I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
It's the first one. Hey, show, man, out here trying to impact and make a difference in the world. So, ladies
much
and gentlemen.
Appreciated.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another great episode here of the DJ Sports Show. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe on YouTube. If you listen to audio platforms, leave a 5-star rating, follow, and share anybody you know. Support is free, and I really appreciate all you guys. I'm your host, DJ Hamilton, DJ Sports Show, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.